The silence is loud surrounding the St. Louis Blues' off-season, and I have to tell you, I'm a little bit nervous.
Hey, this is Brayden Chen. Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here in the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I just want to thank you before I talk about today's episode because yesterday, June 1st, it was a Sunday. I don't film on Sundays unless it's the playoffs. But I want to thank you for 2 years of being your host of Locked On Blues. This has been a dream come true for me, being able to talk about my favorite hockey team, the St. Louis Blues, every single day. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of my everydayers, the players on the Blues who I've interviewed over the years, and of course, just the love and support from the Locked On Podcast Network. So anyways, all that sappy stuff is out of the way. Let's get into it. The silence is loud so far in the offseason. Not hearing much, which makes me very concerned. My biggest fear, what will that be? I will tell you. And of course, do not get too excited about the draft. With the Blues only having 3 draft picks, let's be so for real right now. Nothing that big is going to happen. So set your standards a little bit low. Before I dive into the silence is loud, I want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. The silence is loud surrounding Joel Hofer. And this has been something that you and we've talked about for quite a while now, that he is an RFA and the Blues haven't extended him, and there's been no talk of them doing so. I made a whole entire episode last week, I forget which day, essentially talking about my fear that another team is going to offer Joel Hofer an offer sheet, and I don't think the Blues would match it. The problem is, when it comes to the St. Louis Blues, is that you have something really special of Jordan Binnington and Joel Hofer. And I saw some of your comments, and some people said, Haley, why does it matter that Binnington and Hofer like each other? They don't play at the same time. And while that is true, Jordan Binnington, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, in my opinion, because again, this is my opinion in this podcast, is one of the most elite goalies in the NHL. Doesn't always get the recognition, but there's a reason why you see Binnington in situations like, for instance, I don't know, the Four Nations face-off for Team Canada. Point being is Jordan Binnington is one of the best goalies. The fact that Joel Hofer is able to learn from Binnington and Binnington enjoys teaching Hofer, and again, these are things that both of these players have told me personally. I have the audio. I have their receipts. But the point is that you want a healthy relationship between both goalies. So when I see comments ask me why that's important, that is why it's important. Because one day, and this is what I always thought, the hopes were that Joel Hofer would be your 1A when Binnington, goes elsewhere or whatever happens. And I know that there's a lot of people that think that Joel Hofer isn't going to be that guy ever. And I understand your concern, right? You don't see that much from Joel Hofer because of how often Jordan Binnington plays. And again, people have expectations of Colten Ellis. I mean, he was our 93rd overall pick in the 2019 draft, okay? He's only 24 years old. Don't forget, goalies do take a while to develop. So that's not bad whatsoever. And last year he did play, obviously, with the T-Birds, and he played in 42 games with 22 wins and 14 losses. And in my opinion, he had a good season. A good enough season to where a lot of people are now saying that they would feel comfortable with him being the backup. And I don't doubt that he would be able to do a good job. I think he would be. I do. I've talked about Ellis before a lot. And people always disregard what I said about Ellis, especially last year. Oh, he's not going to be good enough. I think he is good enough. I just think that Joel Hofer is better, and I like what I see out of Hofer. I think he has really strong reflexes, and his reaction time as well is just at a better pace than Ellis is right now. I think the main issue that I have with the silence on Joel Hofer is my fear for those offer sheets. Because realistically speaking, let's go say, what's a team? I mean, a lot of teams need backup goalies. Let's be for real. The Boston Bruins, I don't know why they're the first team that came to my head, but they were. Let's go say they offer Hofer 2-year, $8 million, $4 million AAV. We're just throwing a number out, right? Basic math. I made it simple. While I doubt that, I'm just saying. What if the Blues don't want to match $4 million and they would be willing only to match $3 million? Point being is it makes it really tough because I feel like teams are so desperate to have a good goalie right now that I don't want to say they're willing to throw away money because that makes it sound like he's not valuable, and he is. But I just feel like there's a lot of teams that are willing to spend money right now on goalies because they don't have good goalies. I mean, I'm a big proponent in don't change something until you need to fix it. And right now you have a really good tandem between Binnington and Joel Hofer. And again, you look at teams like the Islanders, the Wild, the Senators, the Flyers, the Sabres, the Kraken, and even next year, right? The Panthers will need somebody. So again, that is why I am very concerned about Joel Hofer. And I just don't know if I see him coming back wearing the blue note. And that's going to upset me. And that is my main issue. He was dealt to us, by the way, in the 4th round, 107 overall in the 2028 NHL draft. And I feel like his development each season has just progressed more and more. So, in my opinion, it's kind of a no-brainer that the Blues should, extend him. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know. I get nervous about these things because it's June already, right? It's almost been a month since we were eliminated. Well, not me. Let's be for real. They were eliminated. You see, we have to consider the salary cap. We also have somewhat decent goaltending depth, right? I mean, Binnington is under contract through the 2026-2027 season. So goaltending right now may not be like the biggest priority. And then, of course, the market. I mean, as an RFA, he even might want to explore his market value. And the Blues could also see like how the negotiation with other teams are. So again, I don't think it's necessarily like, oh, the Blues don't want to sign him. It could be a thing where Hofer just wants to explore too. But we're not going to have that answer because obviously no one's going to come out and say anything. So that is why, in my opinion, yet again, my podcast, my opinion, I feel like the silence right now is speaking volume. Because let's go say Hofer really wanted to re-sign with the Blues. And I know money's important for these players, so I'm not judging him on that at all. I get your bag, Joel. However, it's evident that maybe he even wants to see what his value would be, and same with the Blues' front office. Because again, you don't want to overpay if you don't have to. And while I could say I think he's worth X amount of money, the Blues are dealing with a tight salary cap. So for them, it may just be a situation of, oh, well, I'm just throwing numbers out, just easy numbers. But, oh, teams are only offering him 2 milli AAV. We can offer him 2.1. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they're going to give him more money, a lot more money, because they don't have that money to spend. And quite frankly, with every team, I know that all these teams care about their players, but at the end of the day, if you can save money, you're going to save money. And that's just how it works. Not even just with the NHL. with the NFL, NBA, MLB, anything, even my job, well, not like the podcast, but my other jobs. It's how to spend as little money as possible and get the maximum value out of something. That's like the philosophy, I feel like. So again, I'm not too surprised. Just the silence has spoken to me. But I want to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel, and then we're going to dive into my biggest fear, because my biggest fear is actually kind of relevant. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't miss moments, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player. There's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before a tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and to win big. For me personally, I am all about Tyrese. What the helly burden. That is right. It is going to be the NBA Finals. Listen, I know I'm not the biggest basketball fan, right? But I know about enough hoops to be a little bit, excited about it, right? It's going to be between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. So I want the Pacers to win just because of Tyrese. And with FanDuel, it makes it so easy for me to bet on points and so much more. So for me personally, I know about Tyrese. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a little bit of a parlay for game one, have the Pacers winning, and then have Tyrese with 20 points and 2 3-pointers. So new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. So you might be wondering what my biggest fear in life is. It's being abandoned in the ocean, not being able to speak or communicate in any way, being trapped on an elevator, and having Justin Folk and Nick Leddy on the Blues next season. That was dramatic. I'm not trying to be too dramatic. Here's the thing. The defense was an issue. And it's going to be an issue if you don't make any changes. And for me personally, I am just so paranoid right now about that being a possibility. When it comes to the St. Louis Blues, it is inevitable that the defense was one of the biggest problems that they had all season. Now, luckily, Cam Fowler came in and had probably one of the better seasons of his career helping out this team. Suter stepped up. Tucker stepped up. There was a lot of good. Philip Broberg, he had a little bit of an injury at one point. But overall, and Colten Perico, obviously. The biggest problems, though, were Nick Leddy and Justin Folk. And I don't want to come on this podcast and always rip them, but I am so afraid that if they don't find a way to get rid of them by a trade, they're going to be stuck here next season, and I do not feel good about that. I'm a big Torrey Krug fan, and I've expressed that numerous times on this podcast, and it's unfortunate that it doesn't seem like Krug will be able to play the game of hockey again on a professional level because of his injury, his ankle. And that to me hurts because Krug, say what you want about him, but he was a big guy. And again, this is just my opinion. He did good on the power play. He was a guy that you could put out on the ice and you knew what you're going to be getting out of him. Results. And sure, he didn't perform like he did when he was in his prime, because guess what? Believe it or not, he's not in his prime. Like, I don't know how else, I can say that. Like, people expect so much out of these players sometimes, and it's not like that at all. Right now, he is 34 years old, okay? He was 33 when he last played. So, again, yeah, he's not going to be in his prime, but grow up. That's your own issue if you're going to be thinking you're going to be seeing 20-something Torrey Krug. He did a good job, though. I just get super nervous because, and I'm not trying to, diminish anything any of the guys on the T-Birds, but Matthew Kessel isn't it. I'm sorry, but he's not. He's fine when he fills in, does what he needs to do, but he's not your solution. Scott Perunovich, obviously that didn't work out. It didn't, and it is what it is. You try to develop these players, and sometimes they just don't work out. And I got some backlash on my comments about Tyler Tucker. And listen, on the Thunderbirds, he did stand out to me. I thought Tyler Tucker was a great player on the T-Birds. I have said that so many times. I said that he's a hard worker, he's aggressive, he puts it his all in, and I'm not taking any of that away from Tyler Tucker, but I also am allowed to have my own opinion. And I'm also allowed to say Tyler Tucker's never going to be a 1A. He's not. So, sure, he's great on the third pair. He does what he needs to do. But you cannot get rid of Justin Folk and Nick Leddy and then expect Tyler Tucker to step up into a bigger role. And if you think that, I'm sorry, and I hate to say your opinion's not correct. So instead of me saying that and being argumentative, please explain to me why you think that. What have you seen out of Tyler? And I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm giving you an option to tell me why you have an opinion as sort. Why is it that you believe Tyler Tucker will be able to step up into a role that is going to require him to have more ice time? And quite frankly, he's going to have to step up on special teams. You see, we put a lot of pressure on our guys on our team because we have expectations of going back to the Stanley Cup and hopefully winning it again. And with the team and everything that they faced this year, another coaching change, injuries, like a Robert Thomas injury at the beginning of the season, no Torrey Krug to start the season. You had a Broberg injury. You had, towards the end of the season, a Dylan Holloway injury and went into the playoffs. There was a lot, a Nick Leddy injury. Like, there was a lot that happened throughout the season. And honestly, for what it's worth, the fact that this team was still able to go to the playoffs is pretty impressive, okay? You cannot deny that. But at the end of the day, as impressive as this playoff run, even though it was the first round, but run was, just getting there honestly was more impressive than the actual series. But no, I'm still upset, okay? It's too soon. But for what it's worth, it shows me that this team is capable offensively. It's the defense that makes me nervous. Giving up 17 last-minute goals in the regular season, and then obviously the big one, I know, in the postseason. 1.6 seconds. You don't have to correct me, Winnipeg fans. Oh, man, that was brutal. But that is an issue. And Doug Armstrong said that if it's not fixed by this upcoming December, then he's going to have to really do something about it. No, that's something you need to fix in the offseason. You need to fix that ASAP because that is unacceptable for a multitude of reasons. You know that is an issue. You know that's something that needs to be addressed. So address it. Fix it. Don't just wait and hope that it gets better because it's not going to get better. And you might say to me, oh, Hale, well, that's something that maybe Biddington or Hofer needs to work on. No, maybe it's the defense that needs to set up better positioning or not to be stupid with the puck. You see, I made a statement about how the end of Game 7 went in regulation. And I said it. Clearing the puck, it's all fine and dandy, but when you're trying to drain the clock, you don't want to ice it. What you want to do is baby the puck anything. icing the puck and then giving the team that you don't want to have an opportunity with a face-off in your defensive zone, honestly, is stupid. I'm not a hockey coach, but I've watched enough hockey and played enough video games to know that that was stupid and that was bad and all of that. So again, just frustrated. But what's new? I mean, honestly, what's new? Every single year around this time when I do this podcast, I feel like I'm just like venting about my frustration, but my frustration is justified. My frustration is real. My frustration amplifies how we all feel. There is so much frustration with these last minute goals, and it has to be addressed. And if I'm the one that has to come on this podcast and say, hey, Doug, even though you might have been joking, it is not acceptable to wait until December to get this fixed. You need to fix this in the off season. Because if you begin this upcoming season with the same exact issues, you're never going to get back to winning the Stanley Cup again, because that is an issue. The Blues had the most last-minute goals that they gave up in the entire NHL. Yeah. I'm talking about more so than the Chicago Blackhawks, the San Jose Sharks, the Anaheim Ducks, like all the bad teams. Yeah, the Blues had more than they did by a lot. So I'm just saying, like, that's embarrassing and they need to do better. So again, preaching to the choir. All right. So, really fast about the draft, because I'm going to do another draft prospect tomorrow, but for all of our enjoyment, because I guess my graphics that I made are, they're fine. But just so you can see, Jackson Smith, I talked about him on my last episode. Now, this is the best possible scenario for the Blues. Again, a left-handed defenseman, Tri-City Americans, WAHL. The reason why I like Jackson Smith, and I touched on this prior, but again, he is strong and he has a good physical presence on the ice. So for me personally, this is the best option that the Blues could get in the draft with what they're at, being at 19th overall. The reason why I wanted to rebring Jackson Smith up, it is to just, first off, promote my last episode, so check that out of Locked On Blues. But secondly, to tell you that the Blues need to go after a defenseman. They do. Right-handed defenseman, left-handed defenseman, I don't care. I am so on edge about the Blues going after a winger in the first round. They don't need that. They really do not need a winger right now. I've talked about this before. You can always move Bushi to a wing position. Like, the Blues honestly need to focus on defense. And if they're not going to focus on defense, then just get rid of the draft pick. And I said that before. I also think they're going to get rid of the pick. This is not an exciting draft. The Blues only have like 3 draft picks. Like, they're not going to do anything. They're not. So again, like, if you have any high expectations for the draft, lower them by like 10 million. They're not going to draft an all-star. Whoever they draft will not be ready to play for the upcoming season. The guys in the later round, they're never going to develop. Honestly, like, my best like GM hat, right, would be to just package up all of the draft picks and trades. Like, that sounds bad. I mean, there was a year that the Blues didn't draft at all because like nobody showed up. But like, still, maybe keep the 19th and just package up the other 2 because they're later in the draft. But I have no expectations for this draft. I don't see anything happening with this draft. And I don't want to say this draft is a waste, but this draft isn't valuable for the Blues, at least. Maybe for the Islanders, which again, I think is a conspiracy. They take away the All-Star game, and then all of a sudden you get the first overall. Unbelievable. All right, I will talk to you more tomorrow. And like always, let's go Blues.